Hey, my friend, have you ever asked yourself, where does real wealth actually begin? Is it some big breakthrough? A surprise inheritance? A lucky investment that takes off? Maybe. But most of the time, the kind of wealth I've seen from the people I've worked with over the years doesn't come from one flashy moment. It comes from small, repeated actions, from seemingly tiny decisions, and from quiet, steady consistency. I still remember one of my students, Rachel. She was a single mom, working as an accountant in Chicago. Nothing fancy, no rich parents, no big financial safety net. But you know what changed her life? It was the realization that every small financial action is like laying a brick for the foundation of her financial future. She started simple. She stopped forgetting to check her bank balance at the end of the day. She learned how to say no to emotional spending. She started tracking the money she kept, not just the money she earned. And year after year, little by little, Rachel paid off her debts. 6 years later, she owned two small rental apartments. No magic, no lucky break, just the compound effect of mindset, behavior, and habit. See, wealth never comes from a single burst of motivation. It doesn't happen because you bought a book or listened to a motivational video and hoped things would change. It happens when you change how you live each day, how you spend, how you save, how you invest, and even how you talk to yourself about money. There's a study from Duke University that says over 40% of what we do each day is driven by habit, not conscious decision. That means you can try to change your finances all you want, but if your habits don't change, your results will eventually snap back to the same place. Have you ever felt stuck in that cycle, where your income goes up, but it still somehow feels like it's never enough? That's because you're waiting for wealth to arrive as a moment instead of a process. And I say this with total respect and care. If you're looking for a path to financial freedom, you don't need a miracle. You just need to start laying those first few bricks today. I want you to imagine this. Every time you save $10, you're not just keeping money, you're training your willpower. Every time you say no to a meaningless expense, you're not making a sacrifice, you're building financial muscle. Every time you say, let me research before I invest, you're taking one more step toward lasting wealth. Because wealth is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. So are you practicing your financial skills each day? Are you laying down those small bricks for your future? If you are, I celebrate you. If you haven't started yet, today is a great day to begin. Because wealth doesn't come from hope, it comes from habit. Hey, my friend, there's something I really wish someone had told me earlier in life. Money doesn't create wealth, it's just a tool, a lifeless, neutral tool, unless you have the mindset to direct it. I once coached a client, a guy in tech making close to $250,000 a year. On paper, he was doing well. But in reality, he was drowning in credit card debt, consumer loans, and impulsive shopping. I asked him, do you know how much you spent last month on things you didn't really need? He guessed, maybe $800. We checked. The real number was $3,100. See, the issue wasn't how much he earned, it was how he handled his money after it hit his account. I've seen high earners who are constantly stressed about money, and I've seen people with modest incomes living confidently with direction and peace of mind. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really knew where your money was going? When was the last time you felt in control of your personal finances? The truth is this, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and what you do with what you keep. There's a woman I once coached, Sarah, a grade school teacher, earning around $55,000 a year. But she had an investment account. She had an emergency fund, and she was getting ready to buy her first rental property. Not because she knew everything about finance, but because she stayed conscious with every small financial choice. There was a study from the University of Chicago that found people who can delay gratification and think long-term with their money accumulate 5 times more wealth than others at the same income level. So you don't need to wait until you earn more. You just need to start being clear with the money you already have. Are you keeping your money or just keeping the feeling of having spent it? Is every dollar you save building your future or just giving you a quick dopamine hit? Wealthy people don't always do more. They just think differently. They pause. They reflect before they act. One smart dollar spent becomes an asset. One careless dollar spent is just a temporary high, followed by emptiness. And if right now you're not earning much, that's okay. Because the moment you begin treating each dollar with clarity and purpose, you're already living like someone who's building true wealth. Hey, my friend, there's a quote I heard once, and the first time I heard it, I just stood there, completely still. It said, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's. And you know what the sad part is? Their plan usually doesn't have much in it for you. I know that life. I used to live it, working hard, chasing goals that weren't even mine, meeting deadlines, earning a paycheck, but still feeling empty inside. It was like being in a car, but the steering wheel was in someone else's hands. I'll never forget a woman I once coached, a 36-year-old nurse. She sat across from me and said, Kim, I've been living by everyone else's expectations, my parents' society, for the past 15 years. Every morning I wake up and feel like I'm running on a treadmill that never stops. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're busy every day, constantly in motion, but not quite sure where you're going. And if you're really honest with yourself, the answer might catch you off guard. Because here's the truth. If you don't actively choose your path, someone else will choose it for you. Your job will decide. Your family might decide. Social media trends will decide. Even ads will try to tell you what to want. And little by little, you give up authorship of your own life. I want you to imagine this. Every single day, you wake up with 24 hours, same as everyone else. What if just 2 hours a day were spent planning for your finances, for your health, for your career direction? Just 2 hours a day, and you could become the director of your own life. The truth is, wealthy people aren't just lucky. They're not just good with money. They have a plan, a real one, with goals, timelines, strategy, and intention. No one becomes rich by accident. No one stumbles into financial freedom just by hoping for it. You need a plan for you. Because if you don't have one, one day you'll wake up living inside a life someone else built, and it won't feel like home. So today you can start with a blank sheet of paper. Write this at the top. What do I truly want 3 years from now? And then ask yourself, if I change nothing, will I get there? Wealth, freedom, fulfillment. They're not rewards for the lucky, they're rewards for the intentional. So here's the question I want to leave you with today. Whose plan are you living right now? And is it time to write your own? You know something? After nearly 10 years working with hundreds of adults struggling with their personal finances, I've realized one simple truth. You can't change what you don't measure. Wealth doesn't start by making more. It starts by knowing exactly where you are right now. I remember a client of mine, a marketing executive. From the outside, he looked successful. He drove a nice car, wore designer clothes, always rushing to the next meeting. But then I asked him one simple question. Do you know your exact net worth? He paused, looked uncomfortable, then said, I think a couple $100,000. So we sat down together, added up all his assets, subtracted all his debts, and the real number? Negative $11,000. He was stunned, and honestly, I've been there too. Have you ever felt like you were doing okay until you actually looked at the numbers? You might be working your tail off, but if you don't know where your money is going, you have no idea whether you're moving forward or sliding backward. Wealth is not built on hope. Wealth is built on clarity. I want to challenge you to do this, just for one evening. Write down everything you own: cash, bank accounts, stocks, real estate, vehicles, digital assets. Then write down everything you owe: credit card debt, car loans, student loans, personal debt. Now subtract what you owe from what you own. That's your net worth. That's your starting line. That's your truth. And something powerful happens when you do this. Suddenly, things go from fuzzy to focused. From I just need to make more money to how much am I actually keeping? Where is my money leaking? What would it take to grow this number by just 5% a month? I once worked with a single mom making $38,000 a year. Once she understood her net worth, she set a goal. Just increase it by $100 a month. That's it. It wasn't flashy, but it was consistent. And 2 years later, she had over $5,000 saved. But more importantly, she felt in control of her life again. My friend, clarity isn't just a financial tool, it's a psychological shift. It turns vague anxiety into concrete, directed action. If you want to build wealth, don't start by asking, how can I earn more? Start by asking, where am I exactly? And what do the numbers say about how I'm living today? Because only when you see the picture clearly can you start to redraw it the way you want to live. Let me ask you something. Have you ever just laid back, closed your eyes, and imagined a perfect day in your life? I'm not talking about wishful thinking. I'm talking about intentional imagination, a vivid, crystal clear mental picture of the life you truly want to live. Where do you wake up? Who's next to you? What kind of work are you doing? How are you making money? And how do you feel in that moment? I know, it sounds simple, but this is one of the most powerful secrets the wealthy quietly use every single day. They don't just visualize the car they want to drive. They imagine what it feels like, peace, confidence, when they drive that car home after a purposeful day's work. They don't just dream of their perfect house. They mentally walk through every room in the morning, like a ritual. You know why? Because your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. The brain rewires itself around repeated emotionally charged images. So imagination isn't escapism. It's direction, it's internal GPS. Because what you see clearly in your mind, your body will start moving toward, even without realizing it. I had a student once, a 42-year-old man who had gone bankrupt. After our program, he began doing something unusual. Every morning, he'd close his eyes for 5 minutes and imagine himself walking into his own office. He'd picture signing contracts, talking to employees, smiling as he checked his bank account. He did this every day, religiously. 6 months later, he began rebuilding his business. And you know what he told me? I wasn't afraid anymore. I had already lived that moment in my mind so many times. You see, most people say, I'll believe it when I see it. But wealthy people flip it around. I'll see it because I believe it. They live it in their minds first, then walk toward that vision, step by step. So let me ask you, are you willing to spend 5 minutes each morning seeing the best version of yourself? You don't need to build a whole fantasy world. Just be honest and ask yourself, what kind of life do I want, really? If today was one frame in that movie, how would I act right now? The wealthy use imagination as a financial tool because it drives focus, it shapes energy, and most importantly, it reminds them that they are worthy of a life that shines brighter. So close your eyes, start now, because every kind of wealth is first born in the mind long before it ever appears in your bank account. Hey, my friend, let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever told yourself this? I'll start investing once I'm out of debt. It sounds responsible, doesn't it? It feels logical. But let me tell you, this is one of the most dangerous mental traps I see people fall into. And chances are, if you're here, you might be falling into it too. You see, most people believe they have to be 100% debt-free before they're allowed to start building wealth. But here's the hard truth. If you keep waiting, you might end up waiting your whole life. I once worked with a guy, 35 years old, buried under nearly $20,000 of credit card and personal loan debt. He told me, I feel like I don't deserve to invest while I still owe money. And I asked him gently, when will you finally feel deserving enough? He went quiet, because deep down he already knew, if he didn't shift his mindset, a year from now, 3 years from now, nothing would change. That's when I introduced him to the snowball strategy. It's simple, but shockingly powerful. You don't start with your biggest debt. You don't start with the highest interest rate. You start with the smallest debt. Why? Because in the beginning, it's not about math. It's about momentum. It's about psychology. When you knock out that first $200 debt, it feels like a win. And wins create confidence. Confidence creates action. And action builds freedom. I've seen it time and time again. One of my clients tackled her smallest loan first. She cut out a few takeout meals, canceled 2 subscriptions she never used, and boom, 1 debt gone. Instead of celebrating with spending, she rolled that same money into the next debt. And again and again. Suddenly she had this rhythm, like a drumbeat. Pay, roll it, like a snowball rolling down a hill. And you know what's beautiful? That same momentum, it eventually allowed her to invest while still finishing off the last of her debt. Wealthy people don't wait for the perfect moment to act. They act and create progress, which brings them closer to the life they want. You can start investing with just $50, maybe $100 a month into an index fund, a retirement account, or even in yourself through a course, a mentor, a book. The amount isn't the point. The intention is, because when you start putting your money to work, you're sending a bold message to your future self. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm building something, starting now. And here's the best part. When you shift your money from paying off debt to growing wealth, your dollars start to earn, your mindset starts to expand, and your future begins to change. Wealth doesn't come from escaping debt. Wealth comes from learning how to use money as a tool for growth. So if you're still in debt right now, please don't wait. Pick the smallest one. Attack it with purpose, build momentum, stay disciplined, and when that cash flow is freed up, don't spend it, invest it. Let it start working for you. Because you weren't born just to pay bills. You were born to build freedom. Hey there. Let me ask you something honest. Have you ever made a money decision just because you felt like it? You bought something and said, I deserve this. You put off investing because now just doesn't feel like the right time. You looked at your spending and thought, I think I'm doing okay. But here's the thing. Wealthy people don't think that way. They don't rely on vibes or gut feelings. They live by data. They make decisions based on numbers, just like a business runs on a balance sheet. I had a student once, brilliant marketing director, great at reading people, telling stories. But when we talked about personal finance, she looked at me and said, I feel like I'm making good money, but I have no idea where it goes. And that right there is the problem. Feeling doesn't create freedom. Clarity does. Wealthy people, no matter their income, know exactly three things. 1, how much they own, their assets. 2, how much they owe, their liabilities. 3, if they're winning or losing each month, their cash flow. Not to overcomplicate life, but to take control of it. When your numbers are clear, your decisions get better. You don't buy something just because it's on sale. You know how much of your entertainment budget it eats up. You don't delay investing because you're unsure. You look at your cash flow and allocate with intention. One woman once told me, I'm scared to look at my numbers. Seeing my account just stresses me out. And I get it, I really do. But you know what's scarier? Not looking. Because you can't manage what you don't measure. You can't grow what you don't track. It's like driving in heavy fog, no GPS, no speedometer, no map. You feel like you're going the right way, but sooner or later, you get lost. You burn gas, waste time, spin in circles, and you don't get where you want to go. Wealthy people don't drive blind. They turn the lights on, they check the dashboard, they review their map every single week. So I'll ask you straight, are you living by data or just by emotion? If you want to shift, start with this simple step. Write down all your income, expenses, debt, and assets. Make a simple monthly tracking sheet. Nothing fancy, just real. And before any decision, big or small, ask, what do the numbers say? Will this move bring me closer to financial freedom? You don't need to be an accountant, but you do need to be the CEO of your own life. And any great CEO knows their financials like the back of their hand, because numbers don't lie, they lead. You know something? Spending money isn't a sin. Seriously. We live in a world where everyone's telling you to cut back, stop buying coffee, cancel Netflix, like every dollar you spend is some kind of failure. But I don't buy into that. Spending, when it's intentional, is part of financial freedom. The problem isn't that you spend, it's how you spend. When I work with my students, I always tell them, don't cut spending emotionally, categorize it first. I teach them to break spending into 4 simple categories. 1, essentials, what keeps you alive and functioning, rent, food, utilities, transport. 2, growth, anything that helps you become better, books, courses, coaching tools. 3, luxury, the wow stuff, dining out, designer bags, weekend getaways. 4, waste, money that doesn't help you live, grow, or even remember what it was for. One student of mine once said, I think I spend too much, but I don't know where to start cutting. And I told him, you don't need to cut everything. Just cut what adds nothing. We sat down together, pulled up his bank statements. I asked line by line, do you need this to live? Does this help you grow? Do you even remember what this was? Turns out, over $200 a month was leaking away into unused subscriptions, late-night food deliveries, impulse buys during boredom or stress. He laughed and winced at the same time. I'm not broke. I'm just leaking. Once we cleared the waste, I taught him something even more powerful. Learn to delay luxury with intention. That doesn't mean you never enjoy nice things. It just means you pause, so when you do indulge, it's meaningful, not mindless. For example, instead of eating out 3 times a week just because you're tired of cooking, what if you choose one special night? Pick your favorite place, dress up, savor it. Now, that meal isn't just luxury, it's an experience. It has meaning. You don't have to be stingy to become wealthy. You just have to spend with awareness, because every dollar you save from waste is a seed. And when you plant those seeds in the right places, they grow. They become financial freedom. So if you've been wondering where your money keeps disappearing, don't blame yourself. Don't panic. Just sit down and resort your spending, not to cut your joy, but to build your future. Action beats theory every single time. Don't wait to feel ready. The first version might be messy, but if it's real, it's already ahead of 99% of people who are just thinking. Let me ask you something. Are you waiting until things are perfect before you start? I used to be like that. I had this long list of ideas. Ideas I should do, could do, would do someday when everything's ready. But guess what? Month after month, nothing ever started. Until one day, a mentor said something I'll never forget. A crappy version that's done is still better than the perfect version that never started. I had a student once. She wanted to launch an online course. She had knowledge, passion, a powerful story, but she kept waiting. When I have more time, when I can hire a team to make it look professional, when I have 1,000 followers first. So I looked her in the eye and asked, do you have a phone? Can you record a 2-minute video sharing your insights today without fancy lighting? Can you post it and just see who responds? She paused, then smiled. The next week, she sent me her first video. No intro, no fancy edits, just her, speaking from the heart. And you know what? People watched, people thanked her. Someone even messaged her asking for a one-on-one session. Here's the thing. Action, even small, always beats beautiful theory. You might not feel ready. You might not be perfect. You might not look like those polished creators online, but you already have what most people don't. You're willing to start. Let me say this loud. Your first version is not your final version. You can fix it. You can improve it. You can grow. But without version 1.0, there will never be a 2.0 or a 3.0. You can launch a YouTube channel with your phone. You can write your first ebook in Google Docs. You can offer coaching with one Facebook post. You don't lack tools. You're just waiting for something that may never come, the feeling of being ready. So instead of asking, am I good enough yet? Ask this instead. Am I brave enough to begin so I can become good? Action doesn't just move you forward. It transforms you. It turns you into someone who creates, not someone who just considers. So let me ask you, from one human to another, what are you holding back on? Write it down. Schedule your first tiny action in the next 24 hours. Film it, share it, launch it, even if it's not perfect. Because like I always tell my students, done in real will always beat perfect and imaginary. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. I know a guy who makes $250,000 a year, and he's drowning in debt. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. And he's not alone. See, we've all been sold this idea since we were kids. If I just made more money, my financial problems would disappear. But here's the hard truth. More income doesn't solve poor money habits. It just makes the damage more expensive. Because more money means more decisions. And if you don't have a clear financial strategy, you're just repeating the same mistakes. at a bigger scale. The guy I mentioned, he drives a nice car, wears designer suits, lives in a rented apartment. His credit cards are maxed out. He's constantly stressed, trying to maintain an image of success. He once said to me, "Kim, I don't get it. I make over 20 grand a month and I still feel broke." I wasn't surprised because income doesn't equal wealth. Wealth comes from strategy, from structure, from self-awareness. I want you to imagine this. You're driving a high-speed sports car, but you don't have a map, no GPS, no clue where you're going. You don't check your speed. You ignore the fuel gauge. What happens? You get lost, you crash, you burn out. And money works the same way. Money is just a tool, but the driver, that's you. And unless you know how to plan, allocate, invest, and maybe most importantly, manage your emotions around money, you're always going to feel like you're chasing something that slips away. I once asked a group of my students, "What problem are you trying to solve when you spend money?" They laughed at first. Then they went quiet. They weren't spending to build a future. They were spending to soothe emotions, to feel better, to impress someone, to fill a gap inside. That's when I said, poverty doesn't always live in your wallet. Sometimes it lives in your mindset. If you truly want to change your financial life, you have to start by changing how you think about money. So let me ask you, do you have a strategy? Do you know where every dollar goes? Do you have a plan for the next 3 months, or are you just reacting day by day? Because real wealth doesn't come from your salary. It comes from how well you control the money you already have. And here's a principle I live by. If you can't manage $1,000, you won't manage $10,000. You'll just lose it faster. So today, I'm not asking how much you earn. I'm asking, how do you think about money? Are you in control of it, or is it controlling you? And if you're ready to shift your mindset, if you want a simple 15-minute-a-week financial strategy to get clarity and peace of mind, I've got one ready. Just say, "I'm ready to rethink money." Because true wealth doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your mind. The wealthy track their net worth, not just their income, even if it only grows by $100, because they understand the power of positive momentum. Kim sits at a desk, a calm space. Behind is a simple chart labeled Net Worth Tracker. She looks gently into the camera, voice steady and calm, like a one-on-one coaching session. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why the wealthy seem so calm about money? It's because they don't just track income. They track net worth, not what they make, but what they keep and what they grow. One of my students once asked me, "Why do wealthy people bother tracking their net worth every month, even when it only increases by $50 or $100? I smiled, because they understand something most people miss. Money is data, and data builds belief. Imagine this with me. You're trying to lose weight. Every week you step on the scale. Week 1, down 1 pound. Week 2, down 0.4 pounds. Week 3, stable. Those numbers, they aren't just weight, they're proof. Proof that your effort is working. They fuel your mindset, and that mindset keeps you going. It's the same with money. You increase your net worth by just $100 in a month. It won't change your life overnight, but it changes your state. It gives you a reason to keep showing up. I remember the first time I ever tracked my own net worth. I opened an Excel sheet and listed it out. Cash checking account, a tiny investment, my debts. Then I subtracted. The result, a negative number. I swallowed hard. It stung. But that moment changed everything, because I stopped guessing and started facing reality. That night, I saw clearly where I stood, so I could figure out where to go. Since then, every month I sit down. No judgment, just clarity. Sometimes it goes up $73.50, and I celebrate, because that means I'm moving forward. And something incredible happens when you track it. You start playing a different game, the game of mastery. You stop reacting. You stop spending just to feel better. Instead, you start asking, will this decision increase my net worth or decrease it? The wealthy don't wait until the end of the year to check in. They review monthly, just like a CEO watches their business, because they treat their money like a business. Let me ask you, are you being a good CFO for your own life? Start simple. 1 spreadsheet, 2 columns, assets, debts. Update monthly. Not perfect, just honest, and watch what happens. Because financial success isn't built on giant leaps, it's built on small, steady steps that you measure. If you want, I can send you the net worth tracker template I've used with over 300 students so you can start today. All I ask is one commitment. I will know exactly where I stand so I can go where I want to be. Because the wealthy don't live by feelings, they live by data and consistent action from that data. So, are you ready to build positive financial momentum? Start by measuring it. Wealth isn't about how much money you have, it's about how much time you truly own. The wealthy, they buy back their time and reinvest it into high leverage work. Let me ask you something. Are you living on purpose or just living to keep up? I once spoke with a man, outwardly successful. He drove a luxury car, lived in a house that looked like it came out of a design magazine, dined at five-star restaurants every week. But then he looked at me and quietly said, I haven't sat down for dinner with my kids in weeks. I honestly can't remember the last time I woke up without rushing. That hit me hard, because in that moment, I realized being rich isn't about how much you own. It's about how much time you can actually call your own. The truly wealthy don't try to own everything. They focus on reclaiming ownership over their life. Have you ever heard this? If you want to know the value of an hour, look at the calendar of the busiest person and ask, what are they using that hour for? Here's the difference. The poor use time to save money. The rich use money to buy back time. They pay $50 for a cleaner, $20 for grocery delivery. They hire a virtual assistant for 5 hours a week. Why? So they can reclaim their hours and invest them in work that compounds. One of my students, Lauren, used to be exhausted. She wanted to launch a YouTube channel. She did everything herself. Ideas, filming, editing, uploading. And she was burnt out. I asked her, if I gave you 5 extra hours per week just to create, what would you do? She smiled and said, I'd finally map out that online course I've been dreaming of. So I told her, then hire someone to do the rest. 3 months later, her course launched. Revenue over $20,000, and it all began with one decision: buy back her time and invest it where it multiplies. See, most wealthy people don't work more hours. They just work smarter. They work where it matters, on things with leverage. Let me ask you this. How many hours last week did you spend on things someone else could have done? How many hours were spent putting out fires instead of building the future? And most importantly, how many hours did you truly live in alignment with what matters most to you? Time is the only asset you can't stockpile. You can't borrow it. You can't buy it back later. Money, you can always make more, but an hour gone is gone for good. So if you truly want to build wealth, start here. I will buy back my time and reinvest it into what returns 10x. Wealth isn't just a bank balance, it's the freedom to choose what you do each morning, who you meet each week, and what you no longer have to do ever again. Time freedom is the highest form of freedom, and the moment you begin to control your time, that's when you finally begin to control your life. Nah, not all work is created equal. If you spend your golden hours doing $15-hour tasks, you're robbing yourself of the chance to create $1,000 results. Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked all day only to collapse on the couch at night and feel like you got nothing meaningful done? You were busy, you were active, but you weren't really moving forward. One evening, I asked a successful entrepreneur friend of mine, in your day, which tasks actually make you the most money? He answered immediately, closing deals, negotiating, strategic planning. I nodded. Then I asked him, and when do you usually do those things? He looked down, gave a small smile, and said, usually after I finish all the small stuff, emails, admin, phone calls. That right there is the problem. Not all tasks carry the same weight. Some work is worth $10 per hour. Some is worth $100 per hour. And then there's work. If done at the right time, that can produce $1,000 per hour or more. But sadly, most people are spending their most alert, creative, and strategic hours doing tasks someone else could do for $10. They check email instead of designing strategy. They clean up files instead of making offers. They spin in circles instead of moving the needle. Let me paint you a picture. What if you protected just 2 golden hours every morning and used that time to write the content for your online course that could sell for the next 3 years? Or use that time to reach out to 5 high-value clients. Just imagine what 1 week of that could do for your income. I made this mistake early in my career. I was doing everything myself: logos, customer emails, website updates, editing photos. I thought I was saving money. But in truth, I was spending my most expensive asset, my time, on things I could have outsourced for $10 an hour. And the real cost wasn't financial. It was my dreams, delayed. If you want to increase your income, you must first increase your awareness of time value. Every morning, ask yourself, is what I'm about to do worthy of my financial vision? Is this a $15 hour task or a $1,000 opportunity? You don't need to do more. You need to do the right things, at the right time, with the right energy as the person you're becoming. Successful people don't do everything. They do the essential things during their best hours with their clearest mind. So protect your golden hours, because that's when your real dreams get planted. Want my time value map tool to identify your $1,000 work? Just comment golden hours below and I'll send it to you for free. Pick the right work, do it at the right time, and your life will start moving in the right direction. Money needs a mission. Don't let your dollars just serve momentary feelings. Give every dollar a job, to grow, to invest, to multiply. Let me ask you something honestly. Every dollar you earn, what's it working for? Some people use money as a way to soothe their emotions. When they're sad, they shop. When they're stressed, they splurge. When they're tired, they let money do the work of comforting them. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing growing from it either. I once coached a student who was earning over $8,000 a month. But by the end of every month, she had nothing left. I asked her, "Where is all your money going?" She paused and said, "Honestly, I'm not even sure. I guess I just spend on things that make me feel good." And that's when it hit me. If your money doesn't have a mission, it'll follow your mood. And moods change every day, but financial goals need a steady direction. I want you to imagine this. Every dollar you own is like a little soldier. You are the commander. If you don't assign that dollar a mission, it's going to wander off, get lazy, and disappear. Wealthy people think differently. They don't just spend money, they lead it. Every month they ask, how much is going toward long-term investments? How much am I using to grow my skills or expand my thinking? How much is for life enjoyment without breaking my strategy? Money is like water. It flows to where you dig the channels, and if you don't dig, it leaks. One friend of mine has a powerful habit. Every time she gets paid, she breaks it down like this: 10% for investing, 5% for learning new skills, 3% for giving on, and the rest? That's for living and enjoying life. In just 18 months, her investments grew by 4x. Not because she made more money, but because every dollar had a job. Remember this: money only has value when it's on a mission. Whether you've got $100 or $10,000, ask yourself, what goal is this dollar helping me move toward? Because at the end of the day, you don't need a lot of money to start. You just need to start giving your money a reason to exist. Give it a clear mission, a path with purpose. Want my money mission map? A simple tool to build your personal finance strategy? Just comment mission below and I'll send it to you. You are the master of your money, and if you're the master, then lead. Don't let emotions take your money away. Let vision multiply it. Find a mentor and turn 5 years into 5 months. Proximity is power. The right conversation at the right moment can change your financial future forever. Let me ask you something real. Have you been trying to figure it all out on your own? Wandering through the jungle of finance, business, and life, feeling lost? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, man, if only someone could just show me a shorter path? Let me tell you something simple, but potentially life-changing. Find a mentor. Not necessarily a millionaire, not a big influencer, just someone who's a few steps ahead, someone who, when they speak, some clicks. I had a student once. She had been struggling for 4 years to build an online business, tried everything: drop shipping, affiliate marketing, blogging, but nothing worked. She kept losing money. Then one day, she met someone who asked her just 3 questions. Who exactly are you selling to? Do they really need this? Have you actually listened to what they're saying? That short conversation, it shifted everything. Within 3 months, she made over $12,000 using the exact same skills, just with better guidance. Proximity is power. Being close to the right person at the right time can compress time like nothing else. Sure, you can learn through 5 years of trial and error, or you can learn in 5 minutes from someone who's already walked through that fire for you. I'll never forget my first coffee chat with the mentor who changed everything for me. It wasn't fancy. No big stage, no spotlight, just a quiet cafe, a notebook, and one honest conversation. But when I walked out of that cafe, my world was different. Not because life got easier, but because I now had a clearer direction. Here's the truth. Don't wait until you feel good enough to seek out a mentor. You become good enough faster because you have a mentor. And don't assume mentors only exist on TED stages or in best-selling books. Your mentor might be your manager, your brother who's been building a business for a decade, even a friend who's mastered the skill you're struggling with right now. You just need to do one thing: get closer. Send the message, share your story, ask for insight, and above all, lead with value. Even if all you can offer is genuine energy, support, or gratitude, it counts. Don't know where to start? Drop the word mentor below, and I'll send you 3 powerful strategies I've used to find and connect with incredible mentors. Sometimes the only thing missing in your journey is someone who's already been where you're standing. And when you find them, the miracle doesn't come from magic, it comes from clear direction. Remember this: you don't have to walk the whole road alone, but you do have to take the first step towards someone who can guide you. Because the right mentor, at the right time, can shrink 5 years of wandering into 5 months of powerful momentum. Wealth doesn't come from what you know, it comes from what you do. You can read 100 personal finance books and still not have $1,000 in savings if you never take action. Let me ask you something. Have you ever bought a self-help book, got super into it, underlined every other sentence, highlighted everything in yellow, took a ton of notes, and then closed it, put it on a shelf, and a few weeks later found yourself struggling with the exact same problem? Yeah, been there. Truth is, I used to be that person. I went through Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, Your Money or Your Life, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And my bank account? Still flat. It forced me to face a tough truth. Mindset doesn't turn into money unless it turns into action. Knowledge is potential, but that's all it is, potential. It's like a seed. If you never plant it, it never grows. If you never water it, it never bears fruit. I once coached a student, smart, driven, eager to learn. She told me, I know how to manage money. I know I should invest early. I know I need an emergency fund. I asked, okay, so have you done any of that yet? Her answer, not yet. I'm still planning. Sound familiar? The problem isn't lack of knowledge. It's delayed action disguised as more learning. People say things like, I'll just read one more book. I need to understand every risk before I invest. Once things are more stable, then I'll start. And nothing changes. They become consumers of wisdom, but never builders of wealth. The journey to wealth doesn't start with the best book. It starts with the first action you take after reading it. You read about budgeting, open an app today and track your spending. Learned about investing, open a demo account and try $10. Heard about emergency funds? Set a mini goal, 130 days. Listen, I'm not telling you to stop learning. I'm saying learn just enough to start. Then learn as you go. Because real wisdom doesn't come from endless reading. It comes from trying, messing up, adjusting, and growing. So if you've been watching videos, reading blogs, listening to podcasts, but still feel stuck financially, pause. Ask yourself, when was the last time I did something with what I learned? When was the last time I took one small step? Because at the end of the day, your wealth doesn't come from what you know. It comes from what you act on. Wealth is not a lecture. It's a contact sport. If you want me to send you 5 super simple actions you can take today, even if you've never finished a finance book, just comment action below. Stop collecting knowledge like a museum curator. Start using it like a builder, because one real step is worth more than 1,000 imagined ones.